We at Pilots for 9/11 Truth would like to make it clear that we do not endorse any theory, which is also clear in our mission statement atop our home page and subsequent analysis we have provided over the years based on data. This World Trade Center analysis is based on precedent and benchmarks set by data provided by the NTSB in terms of Egypt Air 990 as compared to the data provided for the World Trade Center aircraft, and in no way validates any theory. However, the analysis conclusively proves the story we've been told by our government is at the very best not accurate, and at the worst intentionally deceptive for an apparent agenda. Your mileage may vary. Either way, the events of 9/11 have once again been proven a grave issue which needs urgent, serious inquiry. We're talking with Ralph Kolstad. Commander Ralph Kolstad flew for American Airlines, I believe it was, Ralph?
Yes, I flew for Continental for 6 years and then for American for 21 years.
And you flew the 76?
767 International Captain.
Okay. And we're going over the speeds based on the reported speeds by the NTSB for United 175, the aircraft which allegedly struck the South Tower at 510 knots. We briefly talked about the benchmark and the precedent set with Egypt Air 990 at 0.99 Mach, but that was at 22,000 feet. The equivalent airspeed is 420 knots at sea level, which is 90 knots less than United 175 supposedly reached. How do you feel about, United 175 reaching 510 knots?
Physically impossible. To have a clocked airspeed of 510 knots with a commercial airliner at sea level is physically impossible.
If it's going 510 knots at sea level, Mach at altitude is above Mach 1. Do you think...
It's physically impossible. They're not designed to do that.
Yeah.
The airframes are just too big. They don't have the sweep. They don't have the excess power to go supersonic. Commercial airliners were not designed for that and physically can't do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, so then what do you think, since, these aircraft can't perform those speeds, obviously the NTSB claims that they did those speeds, then obviously the only conclusion to draw is that the aircraft which struck these towers were not the aircraft that were supposedly told they were.
That's certainly one possibility. I can only look at what we've seen on the TV about the impact from the two towers in New York and the Pentagon, and the impacts were relatively straight and level. And for a 757, 767, relatively straight and level, I would find it extremely difficult to believe that they're doing any more than 300 or 350 knots. And so to come up with 510 knots is pretty insane. It defies all laws of physics.
Okay, so are you thinking that the NTSB and the radar is inaccurate? Or do you think that that it's possible that these airplanes were beefed up to do those speeds?
Now, that's a real good question, and that certainly is hypothetical in both cases. Either the radar's wrong, the information they're giving us is misleading, or they weren't the airplanes. They sure looked like a 767, and maybe they were modified substantially.
The following interview is with Rusty Amer, a 757 captain who flew for United Airlines and has been a captain on the actual aircraft reportedly used on 9/11. This is what Rusty had to say about the NTSB speeds reported of the exact aircraft he has logged flight time. And you've been with us for quite some time, and I thank you for speaking out, my friend.
You're quite welcome, Rob.
The alleged United 175 that impacted the South Tower was at 510 knots. And, comparing that to Egypt Air 990 at 0.99 Mach, which was at 22,000 feet, the dynamic pressure equivalent at lower altitude for that is only 420 knots. And this aircraft supposedly broke apart in flight.
At that kind of speed, even if you can get a 767 up to 510 knots, which is very, very doubtful, I think it's impossible to get that kind of speed on any commercial airplane. Even if you could.
Oh, well, the Concorde can reach those speeds, can they not?
I don't think so. Not,
the Concorde.
Not at sea level.
Oh, at sea level. Oh, good point.
So, to get an airplane, especially an old 767 that this United aircraft was.
Which, by the way, you have time in this aircraft, don't you?
Yes. To me, it's impossible. Any pilot that has been in a commercial jet would probably laugh at if you said 510 knots.